Free Guy. This is the newest movie from director Shawn Levy, who you guys might know from directing the Night at the Museum trilogy. Those are actually very nostalgic movies for me, especially the second one. And he's also directed some episodes of the show Stranger Things, and he is a producer on that show. And this movie follows this bank teller played by Ryan Reynolds, and he's basically in this video game, but he doesn't really realize it, and he is pretty much like the only non-player character, as they call it. So in other words, he's basically a form of artificial intelligence in this video game, hence the name Free Guy, because he's pretty much the only character who has the freedom to do whatever he wants in the world, different from the other characters who each pretty much have their own role in this world. And from the promos I had seen for this movie, I thought it looked okay. It just looked like kind of a fun movie to me. You know, I like Ryan Reynolds a lot, so that definitely helped in some of my optimism towards this movie. But man, I was not expecting to like it this much. But this movie was really good. I mean, for a movie that kind of takes on that typical Groundhog Day type of plot, like living the same kind of day over and over again. I mean, it doesn't really revolve around that, but that is definitely an element that you could spot in this movie. We've gotten so many of those kinds of movies over time, and this was just such a fresh take on that, even though, again, that's like really not a big part of the movie. But this movie was just such a great time at the theater, and Ryan Reynolds is so damn good in this movie, and I read somewhere that he was very invested in this movie and had a really good time making it, apparently, which is awesome. He's actually one of the producers, so he was very involved in that manner, in addition to being the lead actor in the film. But he just had so much charisma in this movie, and there are several different lines from his character, and really just from this movie in general, that are so memorable. I saw this movie with my sister, and like since then we've kind of like quoted some of those lines back to each other since we saw this movie, just because it's so funny. And I like the rest of the cast as well. We had Jodie Comer as the character Millie, who is somewhat of a love interest to the main character, whose name is Guy, by the way. That's just his name in the movie, is Guy. I thought Joe Keery as the character Keys was a big standout in this one. That's another person who was a part of the show Stranger Things. We also had Lil Howery playing the character who's pretty much Guy's best friend. While he's not that much different of a character from other things that I've seen him in, he was still good in the movie. And there are some moments with his character that I think are going to get some people very emotional and maybe even tear up a bit, possibly. So, you know, definitely props to him for that. Well, I did think Taika Waititi as Antoine was good in the movie. I'm not too crazy about this character, honestly. He was very annoying. And I mean, I know that's the point, because he's pretty much like the big bad of the movie. And he's just kind of a typical guy who's greedy, and I mean, he had some funny lines for sure. And side note, I absolutely love Taika Waititi. I think he's one of the best filmmakers working today, and I can't wait to see what he does next. And I'm sure you guys have heard about all the different cameos that are in this movie, or at least heard that there are a bunch of different cameos, which there are. And I'm not going to talk too much about it because I don't want to do any spoilers for this movie, but there are definitely some big surprises, and yeah. It was really cool. And I liked the different kind of influences that this movie drew from. On its Wikipedia page, it says that it's a combination of Ready Player One, The Truman Show, The Matrix, and Grand Theft Auto. Well, I definitely do see the influence from Matrix and Ready Player One. I mainly see it from GTA, obviously, because it takes place in the video game. But really, mostly from The Truman Show, especially towards the end. I mean, there's a scene right towards the end that is very much like the way that The Truman Show ends. I mean, it even takes place pretty much in the same setting. And the concept of this movie is definitely very much like The Truman Show, since Guy is pretty much the only person in the entire world that is in this place that he is. I mean, I guess technically he's not a person since he's in a video game, but I think you guys know what I mean. And I didn't know if they were gonna use this song for the movie, because it was in like all the promos I had seen for it. But the movie does in fact include the song Fantasy by Mariah Carey. And this is just a really great use for a reoccurring song. Not only does the concept of that song fit well with the concept of this movie, but the positive, upbeat nature of it also just fits so well with the movie, and it's pretty much been stuck in my head ever since I saw it, which isn't a bad thing, by the way. I like that song, so it's okay. And like I said earlier, there is a romance that is portrayed in the film, or that's developed throughout, and I gotta say, even though there are definitely plenty of moments that do feel kind of cliched and familiar, it goes in directions that you wouldn't expect. Like, there are twists and turns to this relationship that's developed and portrayed. If you are really like paying attention to this movie and watching it like a hawk, then you might be able to catch on to it and predict what's about to happen. And I mean, not that I didn't pay attention to it carefully, but I just didn't see this coming. It kind of came as a surprise, and a pleasant one at that. I thought it was pretty well done. I guess if I were to pinpoint any flaws or nitpicks, I would maybe say that guy's realization that he is in this video game and that he basically that he realizes where he is and why he's there. I think that could have been fleshed out a little bit better, and I mean, that's a hard thing to get right in movies. You know, like with Revenge of the Sith, how Anakin's turns to the dark side was just so abrupt and kind of out of nowhere. And that's not a direct comparison, that's just an analogy. But I mean, right now I can't think of anything else. This was such a great time. I was so surprised by how good it was, and so was my sister. We were both just so surprised that it turned out this good. If you haven't seen it yet, or you were hesitant to watch it from the trailers, I would highly recommend it. I think it's a great time, and I'm going to give Free Guy an A-. If you have seen it, let me know what you think in the comments, or maybe let me know what your favorite Ryan Reynolds movie is. Just let me know all your thoughts down below, and that's pretty much all I got for you guys. Take it easy, and peace out.